So once again, I was lucky enough to be invited to Samsung KX, Samsung's home in central London, to check out the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 5 and Z Flip 5 ahead of the Samsung Unpacked event in Korea. So in this video, I aim to give you guys a close-up look at the design and some of the new color options. There are going to be some exclusives online and in certain stores, and you'll get a close look side by side how the Z Fold 4 compares to the Z Fold 5 and the design upgrades that they have made. In terms of color options, the default ones are cream, icy blue, which is my new favorite, and of course the Phantom Black. Now, one of the first upgrades you'll notice straight away with the new Fold devices is that Samsung have closed the gap. So this means things like bank cards or parking ticket cards won't get stuck in between the two screens as easily anymore. And trust me, I've experienced that a couple of times and completely panicked and even cancelled one of my bank cards, and then later on found it sandwiched between the folded screen. So that's less likely to happen now. Now, a couple of other notable upgrades to the design is that it's now 2.4 millimeters thinner. It's also 10 grams lighter. And these are things you might not notice at a glance, but it's definitely noticeable when you actually have the device in your hand. Now, although the speaker grills appear to be smaller on the Z Fold 5, the speakers are actually louder than the Z Fold 4 speakers. And just like before, the glass on the back and the front is Gorilla Glass Victus 2. The frame is Armor Aluminium and it's got a dual rail hinge. And this has been tested up to 200,000 folds. And when you look at the hinge side by side with the Z Fold hinge, you'll notice that the Z Fold actually had an engraved Samsung logo, where now it's kind of a lasered in logo. And I think this just gives it a bit of a smoother feel and less edges for fluff and things like that to catch onto. Now, a couple of things that you won't be able to see just looking at the device is the upgraded cooling chamber. So it's now 38% bigger than the previous version. And with a bigger cooling chamber, that means the device can push the CPU and the GPU further when it needs to without having to worry about too much wasted energy. And the new Fold device is of course rocking the latest Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 for Galaxy. So this is an overclocked version of the chipset and is faster. This is also more energy efficient. And then that combined with the cooling chamber means that this device should be better on battery life. And I will test it in my full review. So make sure you're subscribed, notifications on for that. So with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 upgrade, you will get better power efficiency, better AI, and better image processing. And that takes me nicely onto the camera module redesign. So the LED position has now been moved up and to the side, and they've redesigned the entire look of the module to be more in line with the S23 Ultra range with their kind of floating lens style now. And I think this is a nice subtle upgrade. The cameras are 12 megapixel Ultra, 50 megapixel primary with OIS, and there was mention of a new approach to the anti-glare coatings. There could possibly be a glass lens in that one. I'll check that for the full review. And then there's a 10 megapixel 3x telephoto. Now this is something that I looked at straight away. I wanted to see if the crease was reduced at all, and it is ever so slightly. You will notice it side by side. It's just a little less aggressive. They haven't entirely solved the problem yet, but it's still a step in the right direction. And in terms of the inner display, it has been upgraded. It's now 350 nits brighter than the Z Fold 4. And again, because we've got that cooling chamber and the new chipset, it should be able to power this display more efficiently. So the battery life should be the same or better than the Z Fold 4. There wasn't much mention of the in-display camera being upgraded. I'd expect that to be the same as before. The battery size is the same as before, but there are a bunch of new user upgrades coming to this device, which I will be looking at in depth in the full review. So make sure you turn on your notifications for that. And looking at the three new colors, like I said at the beginning, the icy blue for me is the way to go. The white is pretty classy. The Phantom Black is of course the low profile, under the radar kind of stealth model. Let me know which one looks the best to you. Which one are you gonna get? Let me know in the comments below. And something else that's really cool that they've done with the Z Fold 5 is they've introduced a new case with a stylus. Now, I wasn't a fan of the previous case with the stylus because it was just too thick in the pocket. They've managed to reduce the size of the S Pen pretty significantly and kind of flattened it out so that now it sits inside the case without making everything too bulky. And there's a really cool little eject mechanism to that case as well. And just like before, everything's waterproof, but also the S Pen is waterproof as well. So that's a nice upgrade. And of course, I did get to look at the Z Flip 5, and the new colors are graphite, cream, lavender, and mint. Again, Samsung have managed to close the gap. It's more pocketable than before as well because of this fact. The outer display is much bigger and it now has tons more features. So you can have more widgets on the screen. You can swipe between pages. and actually have buttons and shortcuts on there. The outer display also supports pinch gestures, and third-party apps are supported as well. And because it's a bigger display, you can now have a full keyboard on that outer display. I did take a look at the Z Flip 5 and the Z Flip 4 side by side to see if there was any difference in the crease, and it seems less noticeable on the Flip model. There is that design change on the hinge though, just like the Fold, where it used to be embossed, now it's just kind of laser printed. There have been some upgrades to the camera quality, and it is rocking the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 for Galaxy as well, so we should see some performance upgrades there and some better efficiency thanks to that. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed that I actually get hands-on with one of these flip phones. I'm definitely going to get the Fold phone because that's probably going to be my next upgrade. So let me know what you think of the new Samsung Galaxy devices. Do you like the look of them? Which color are you going to get? For me, the icy blue is the way to go for the Fold, and then the mint for the Flip. And here are the full specs on screen right now. And if you're wondering about the pricing, that's on screen right now as well. They're not cheap. And they say the best things in life are free, but they also say the second best things are very expensive.